Jupiter's legacy is no more. Yeah. Well, it had some problems, and, well, I'll just get right into it. So, yeah, Mark Millar tweeted that, yeah, oh, he tried to he always tries to put a positive spin on everything. He's quite the showman. But they're going to move on in another direction, centering on his other series called Super Crooks, which takes place in the same world, and it's all about the villains and all this sort of thing. And they'll follow that, and I imagine probably they can, it's a heist story, and they can do that on the cheap, if you will. Maybe, you know. But Jupiter's Legacy, going through the series, and I did this, my only take on it, as far as review goes, was I set it up in a video where I pitted it against Invincible. Because there's some similar, well, there's father and son, or father and parents and children, you know, scenarios in there. And I said Invincible is better. You know, both had their elements of being loyal to the source material. Since I knew Jupiter's Legacy better than Invincible, I went out that they took quite a few liberties and shuffling it around. Didn't have too much of a problem with it because it appears the plot points will be the same anyway. And they're actually kind of maybe, you know, fleshing some of the characters out, especially the son in this case. And I could see, I guess, you know, it's going to kind of surprise the audience. They won't now because you're never going to get there, of where he ends up, because this is very different. He's already there in the comic book. You start off with him, and I won't spoil anything because I guess you're just going to have to go get the series and read it. But one of the things in the points that comes up in Gary Beekler over at Nerdrotic has always made this point, and I think at this point his case is closed. I think he's on the mark here, and that the binge model doesn't work. It doesn't work for shows. There's successes still with it, like, you know, Stranger Things, but for a lot of them, there's some that are high quality and very strong. They just can't get an audience. They get binged and they're forgotten. There needs to be a fandom built up around these things, especially with the genre, where people talk about it and stuff like that. And you get it still, but it's limited because you get it all at once and then you're done and you move on. And there's a lot of competition for it and all that sort of thing. And the binge model, I don't think helps it. He made this point about The Expanse, and I think that's true. The Expanse is a magnificent achievement. And it doesn't have enough people watching it. It's too late. At least it's going to get a send-off, unlike this show, which won't, which is unfortunate because the series ends on a cliffhanger. It had good things about it. You know, the costumes it was what really took me aback about how loyal they are and how they look more superhero-y than the big mainstream ones of DC and Marvel, you know. And it's pretty damn loyal, especially Utopian. He walked right off the page. But, you know, and I understood the differences they did because, you know, adaptions and whatnot, and you change things around. Plus, it adds to certain surprises and stuff that even if you did read the book, oh, you didn't see this. And plus, the actual detailed origin of where the powers came from and stuff hasn't been addressed yet. Mark Millar's working on a new volume of it, and perhaps that'll go into it. But it wasn't in the initial series. And here they go very much into it with the flashbacks and whatnot. But I mean, it was like walking through mud. It's so slow. There's some amount of repetition as far as mood and theme goes. It's not as bad as CW shows do it, which do it so terrible. Repetition ultimately is what killed The Walking Dead. They just kept doing the same thing over and over again, and it was getting more and more watered down from its former glory. But in this case, the one thing that, you know, at first I was thinking, you know, what they need to do with a lot of these shows is tighten them up, and at 8 episodes max, well, that's what they did. That's like, and I'm like, God, it was really only 8 episodes, but oh, it was like walking through mud. The cast was great. They all did their jobs. It's too bad because they're all let go, and Millar, you know, he puts in, well, maybe we'll revisit it, hopefully, and yeah, hopefully, but I don't know. So it's unfortunate, but I think that the main points here And a lot of that is saying you tighten it up and stuff. Even though that they shorten the amount of episodes, they're treating it as if there's like 5 more to go or something, because it drags on and drags on. And then you get, oh, guess who's the real villain, at the end. But it's, you needed more in there to keep interest going. I mean, it's one episode has this big excitement, and then it's just on, I'm upset. And then we flash back to when, Utopian's going crazy and all this stuff. And you're setting up the idea of what's going to happen between the two brothers and where that's going and the foundation that's built on. And understand all of that. But you needed to step up the pace. And so by stretching it out, it does look a lot like repetition because you're still telling the same story over for a couple of episodes. And yeah, you can't do that. Not in the streaming world. Certainly not. So, yeah, the number of episodes, I guess that seems about a solid number. But you got to have the material to keep them coming back, And when Invincible had that all over the place. Each episode had its own, thing of entertainment there, of take between character development, story, and action, of course. And it moves forward. Whereas some of the episodes kind of stalled for Jupiter's Legacy. So that's what it is. But ultimately, yeah, Nerdrotic's right. The binge model doesn't work. Had this been spread out and it had been we would still need, it could learn some lessons from the pacing of Invincible. It would still need that. But in the episodic form, stretched out over, 8 weeks, I think would have done a lot good for it. But that's that. So they're moving on to Super Crooks. And we'll see how that goes. But it's unfortunate. So rest in peace, Jupiter's Legacy. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.